So in video number one today, we had a hard conversation about buyers in a market where mortgage rates are now over 7% again. And really what we found out is inventory is so low, people have been shopping for so long that at least currently buyer demand does not appear to be softening, unlike last July and August where it went to crickets. But I want to talk about sellers because a lot of sellers today are also buyers. A lot of sellers are in a position where they don't have to sell. Maybe they want to sell, but don't have to sell. So I am wondering, in an environment where inventory is already remarkably low, could 7% mortgage rates actually cause people to A, take listings off the market, or B, delay listing because they just don't want to deal with this high rate environment? And we're going to have this conversation with Beth Traverso. How you doing, Beth?
Hey, great. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so we talked about buyers. Buyers make total sense. We talked about affordability. We talked about having to move, all of that stuff. I want to flip it and talk about sellers, right? You're in the market. You generally work with sellers, if I remember correctly. So, what are sellers saying? Like, are they even bothered by 7% mortgage rates? Has anybody canceled a listing because they're like, hey, now's not a good time? What is going on now that rates are moving up?
Right. So I haven't had anybody cancel. But what I have found is that the question that sellers have for me is, can I still sell my house right now? They just want to know if they can sell their house and
Okay.
whatever the interest rate is. They just want to know, am I going to be successful with, am I going to be able to achieve my goal
Mhm.
and go forward with my plans? That's where the rubber meets the road for them. And I would say that for a lot of sellers, what they're looking to do is that I work with, they're people that are downsizing and moving away a lot of the time. I'm seeing that has been a very strong trend for
Sure.
my clientele. And then also people that are selling, they may not be retiring, but they're moving out of state
Okay.
and they don't want to keep a rental out of state. They want to sell it, roll their equity into whatever they're buying out of state.
Okay.
It's the traditional move up buyers that I think are the most impacted and restricted. That lock-in effect is still very real,
I would
and
think
I'm
it gets
not
worse
seeing
at
as much of
seven,
that.
right?
What's that?
I would think a lock in, which again is, hey, I have something at 3. I want to trade up. My wife's pregnant or whatever, better school, newer. But you just can't trade a 3 for a 7. It's
No,
crazy.
no. So at some point, that tension will be enough to break it,
Hmm.
and we're starting to see a little bit of that. The people that are severely uncomfortable where they're living, that takes a toll on people and adds to their stress, and at some point, they're like,
Sure.
"Yeah, it's gonna cost me more, but, I gotta live my life, and our family has to live our life." There is some of that, but it has to be a pretty compelling reason. It's "Well, we always liked this neighborhood, and we want a bigger house, but our house now is fine." Those are the ones that are holding back and just it's not enough.
Yeah.
There has to be enough pain to
Yeah.
make it worthwhile.
What I'm putting out there, and I'd love your feedback on this, because again, I've been doing this for 22 years. The move up buyer was by and large the largest component, so I've been watching them forever. Usually for move up buyers, there's a compelling event. It's another child. It's a promotion. It's school district, right? There is an event that's like, okay, we're gonna trade A for B. It's usually one thing. I think what's going to happen over the next 5 years, certainly 3 years, possibly 5 years, is it will never or very rarely be one thing. It will have to be two life events. It's going
Yeah.
to be that compounding, right? Because you can
Mhm.
put kids in a bedroom. When the new one comes, it's this big, right? It doesn't take up that much space until they get to be, 2 or 3
Yeah.
years old and they start running. So I think it's going to take multiple life events. So it will still happen. We will get a healthy move up buyer market again. It's just delayed.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's coming.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be delayed for some time. I'm not getting any sense of that coming roaring back at any time soon. I think it's
Too.
gonna and that's gonna contribute to our lower inventory for a long time.
Yeah, lower inventory and lower transactions.
Yeah. We're seeing the first time buyers, they're back out in force,
Yep.
which is great, and I think. And then I'm seeing the downsizers selling,
Yeah,
and
they have plenty of
they're often
equity
cash
and
buyers elsewhere.
Yeah, so they're not rate sensitive.
No, they're buying
Yeah.
cash. They're using their equity to buy cash somewhere
Yeah.
else,
And if they
typically.
take a 50K haircut on something they bought for 2 cents back in the 60s, it just doesn't matter. Right.
Does not matter. No,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
more about what they're buying, where they're going. You know, if they're moving to Arizona and prices are skyrocketing there, we did have a bit of there was some friction about that last year where some people, or the market started, they were under contract for new construction in Arizona, let's say,
Mhm.
and they paid top dollar. And
Mm.
then the market started going down when rates were spiking, and their house that
Mm.
they were going to sell to buy the other wasn't able to give them what they needed. There was a lot of
Oh,
stress
wow.
there about that. I had a few clients that were dealing with that. We were
Okay.
always able to make it work, you know, everybody got what they wanted in the end, but it was a little hairy for a while there, because if they're rolling that equity,
Mhm.
they might owe nothing on the house here, and they've got, say it's worth $1 million, you know, but if it costs 1 million or more in Arizona, just I'll keep using that example, then, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, then they
it's a
actually have a
wash.
mortgage payment. Yeah, or they have a
Yeah.
mortgage payment, which they
Or they
didn't
have a
plan
mortgage
for.
payment. Yeah. And a lot of people don't want to do that, but at
Yeah.
that point in their lives. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
So again, we talked earlier about what would cause buyers to break, and we kind of guessed 8% because we haven't been there before. Is there a number? Are we there that really breaks sellers? It's hard to say sellers because we're already your market's down 41% according to realtor.com. That's
Yeah.
wild to think about. Could it
Wild.
break lower, or it's just at this kind of natural floor at this point if rates went higher?
I think it's already at its natural floor. I mean, there was a time when we were down even more than this a few months ago. I'd have to go back and look at my charts, but you know, there was a time where it was even worse. Transactions were down even more than it is now. As far as number of transactions. Um, I feel like this is again just my sense of things, just being an observer and daily in the market, watching it. I think we're going to continue with this trickle. You know, every
Yeah.
week we have a slow trickle where we
Yep.
see which new listings are coming on. It's a small handful, and everyone swarms around those and snatches them up, and then you wait to see what comes on the next week and repeat.
What
That's
is
what I'm
the
seeing.
slowest time? Is it the summer or is it winter, like late in the year for your market?
It's around July, August, and then also
Okay.
around right around the holidays.
Yeah,
It
makes
really
sense.
drops off between, of course, Thanksgiving and New Year's, which I think is true for a lot of places.
So it'll be very interesting to watch July because again, July is where we hit the wall last month or last year, excuse me.
Mhm.
Um, you're down 40% in inventory from there, so it's going to be wild to look at. If somebody wanted to buy or sell in your market, or better yet, get a referral to an agent in their market, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm easy to reach at bethtraversogroup.com, or you can message me through Facebook or Instagram, or find me on the One Rental at a Time Facebook group.
Thank you so much.